Morning, Claire.
Thank you for joining. And we're going to talk about living with health anxiety in a pandemic, mental health and life balance, and what it's like being at home for 8 weeks already. So, Char, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this.
Thanks for asking me. I don't know what's going to come out, but that's fine. It's nice
I,
to have something to do, really, in a way.
yeah, and I've
Um,
never got any idea how these conversations are going to go because it's all organic and unplanned. But I think what I've noticed for myself in lockdown is how many coping mechanisms I had for dealing with background low level anxiety. And as someone who's never had a mental health diagnosis, but I understand that there is a spectrum of mental health. We all have mental health, and I'm not a mental health specialist. I just wanted to ask you about your experience of going into self isolation 2 weeks before lockdown. What led to that decision, and um, how you've been throughout the last 8 weeks, and what sort of activities you've been doing. And because from the outside, it looks like you're managing really well. In fact, at times, it looks like you're managing a lot better than me. Not that we can judge other people's outsides by our own insides, but yeah.
okay. Well, that's interesting, and I think there's going to be a lot of the whole what you choose to show on social media in that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go first back to the first question though. So what led me to lockdown early, I guess. I was really blasé about this situation, even though, as it says, I've had health anxiety since I was 17,
Yeah.
and that got quite serious a couple of years ago. And I think had I not finally addressed it 2 years ago, um, I may not be handling it quite so well.
Yeah.
But I feel really, really lucky. I've had a sort of really intensive 2 year period where I've been kind of looking at that in its entirety and dealing with it probably for the first time since I was 17 properly.
Yeah.
So I sort of cracked jokes when when this first happened, that had I not already had a breakdown about this stuff, I would
Yeah.
be having one now. It
Yeah.
would drive me to one,
Yeah.
sort of making a joke about it. But
Yeah.
I burnt out 2 years ago, and it forced me to look at how I was getting through life with this anxiety, when there wasn't a pandemic, just generally thinking that I might get something, there's
Yeah.
germs around, I could die, and letting that rule me to some extent. So there's sort of element of OCD came into that, sort of hypervigilance and safety behaviours, and a lot of stuff that I used to do that, and also avoidance. So I was busy, 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 busy all the time, but I couldn't outrun it by the time that I hit this burnout.
Yes.
And so since my recovery from that over the past 2 years, I have gained almost a crash course in how to deal with the pandemic,
Okay.
which is I don't know what that means. It's amazing. It's amazing. I feel really lucky
Yeah.
not to be my former me and
Yeah.
this be happening, because I wouldn't be dealing with it as I am now. That's all I know,
Yeah.
without shadow of a doubt. But what caused me to lock down early? I was very blasé.
Mm-hmm.
I've recently come out of a 15-year marriage, and I was dating someone new, and 2020 started looking like the best year ever. Really positive in January
Yeah.
and February, and really enjoying my new freedom and my life, and the recovery that I put in for all this anxiety that I've been living with. And so when reports started coming in from Wuhan, I just said, well, it's another SARS. It doesn't affect us over here. I think like most people. And I didn't get too drawn into it at all.
Yeah.
And then as it started reaching here, I still maintained that. And I think the person that I'm dating is a key worker, is an essential worker. So it was still quite normal. There was a lot of normality. They were still doing what they were doing, and I was avoiding the news. And I think I was quite blasé. I had a turning point. I've been having some uh, in, internal family systems therapy in Stroud, and with a therapist. Absolutely fantastic. Really highly recommend this. I'd never heard of it before, but that's a whole other thing. But very, very interesting. Doing some really interesting work. And I went around to see her on the Wednesday, and she said, it's okay. We can do this on Skype. It's okay. And she seemed really nervous. And I was like, she said, are you nervous? And I said, no. And she said, well, I'm interested as to why. And I said, well, because it's just like another flu, and it'll probably be fine if I get it. She said, well, I'm interested to know if that's your denial, or if that's maybe the fact that you're medicated, you take an antidepressant, or whether this is real for this is, it really isn't a problem. I'm just interested to know about that.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it feels real. I really don't see any need to get upset right yet. And she said, okay, interesting. And then as I left there, it's planted a seed that she seems genuinely worried. So I think that's what started the whole conundrum of living my whole life being told, don't buy into the hype, don't buy into the fear, don't buy into the worry, it's your head. The more that you feed these things, the more they have a grip on you. So the whole sort of CBT approach is to not believe it, challenge it, go and do the opposite. So I was doing all that, and yet this person said, my therapist said, it's kind of serious. So it planted that different perspective for me. And then I went home and slept on it. And then I went to, I phoned a friend. I phoned a good family friend who is an NHS worker.
Yeah.
And he had just that week contracted coronavirus.
Okay.
And I said, look, it was just a message. I said, should I be worried or not? Be honest with me. And he said, I'm not here to scare people, but yes, be worried. And that was over a week before shutdown. And I listened. I just thought, I've got a chance here to not take risks. And I don't want my anxiety to get to a point where it's through the roof.
Yes.
And if we have and it was starting to sort of happen in Italy then, which is ironic because my new person that I'd been dating and I had planned a trip to go to Tuscany, which was like the epicenter of all this. So it served me to be in denial that it wasn't all that bad because I wanted to do all the fun stuff, right? So after that, I made a decision. I think that was a Thursday night, and I think I didn't send my daughter to school on the Friday. I just said, we're gonna stay in. We're gonna stay in now. And I picked up on some of the general conversations online on social media. I think I had another friend who said, they're going to be locking London down soon, and I thought, well, if this is going to happen anyway, why wait until the government that I didn't even vote for tells me to do it when my friend who I trust, who is ill in the same town as me and is an NHS worker, thinks that this is the way forward. And so I made that decision. And I was having a lot of I had a few messages from parents at school because my daughter had been saying, well, I'm not coming in this week. And some parents said, I hear you're not letting your daughter go in. What's that? I don't really want to either. What's that about? And I stood by it. I said, well, yeah, I believe it will be shut down as of the following Friday anyway, and I'm okay with my decision. And I kind of felt a bit foolish, like a bit over the top, a bit extra, like I was being a bit extra. But it also, deep in my gut, was no, we're going to do this. And sure enough, lockdown was announced the following week, and I thought, well, what harm did it do? I went out that week and I got loads, popped out and got loads of food in. I didn't panic buy, but I bought things like pasta and flour and a few extra things of long life oat milk or whatever. And I thought, well, if we don't lock down, no harm. But if we do, I'll be glad that I've done this, and I don't regret my decision at all. That was a long answer, wasn't it? I can chat.
Good answer. And obviously we're locked down and you've got your family at home, so you've got your son working from home in the office there with you, and family life goes on around you.
Yeah, he came down from London that week as well, the week of just before the lockdown. I can't keep track of the when it happened, but it was early. There was a rumor that London was going to be locked down quite seriously, and he thought, well, and I asked him I said, I'd like to have you with me. And that's part of my anxiety is based around not only my own health anxiety, but I want the people I love to be all right as well. So I get quite caught up in, I want safety for myself and my loved ones, which normally is a normal response. But I think when you have a diagnosis, it's because it's taken off to another. It makes your life, you're not functioning in your life because it's gone too far. Pardon?
It's a different level.
A different level, it certainly was, yeah.
But something that I think about this lockdown situation is that, for me anyway, it's given me a lot more empathy for people who have mental health diagnoses and suffer from anxiety, because there's plenty to be anxious about at the moment. There's so much uncertainty, but it's given me an understanding of how life could be different if my life was different, if I had a different life experience, how different life could be. And I think that could be a positive thing, that we might come out of here with a little bit more understanding of one another, maybe.
Yeah, most definitely. I remember you said to me, Claire, this was quite early on, because bless you, I didn't want to get my prescription that first week. And you said, well, I'll go. You were still, you were still working, you were still able to work then. And so thank you for that. That was great. And so you said, isn't it funny? You really notice every door handle that you touch. I didn't realize that, now the pandemic started. We didn't call it then, we called it Corona, didn't we? And it's moved to COVID, and now it's the pandemic. If you notice that.
It's interesting. All the terminology is really interesting.
So you said, what about isn't it interesting that you sort of suddenly become aware of everything you've touched? And I said, well, no, I know all day, every day, everything that I've touched, and I have done for years. So that's given you, maybe that gives other people an insight into what that's like, that kind of anxiety.
Sorry to interrupt.
No.
To be that hypervigilant. It's exhausting. Exhausting.
And I think that's exactly what my burnout was. It was just exhaustion. I couldn't. Also, the thoughts, I think being busy all the time was the way that I tried to outrun the uncomfortable stuff. So, so I was exhausted in that way as well. So just
I think a lot of us do busy all the time to outrun feelings. I mean, that's my absolute go-to. So actually having to stop has been quite challenging at times. Something else that I have noticed as somebody who's been in full-time work for 20 years, is that it's very easy for me to very quietly judge people who are at home all the time for not doing much. Like, I might not be, your typical tabloid judge, but internally, it's quite easy to judge people for like not really bothering to get dressed and not being very active, not doing much. And then from being at home all the time, I have an absolute embodied understanding of what that state of mind is.
Yeah. I agree. I I think, again, going back to the training, when I was ill, I was off work for 12 weeks, and I felt like I was still in the old mindset. So when I came out, because I was, quite ill, I was rested the whole time.
Yeah.
And didn't do anything. So I came out of that feeling like, gosh, I've wasted. I mean, when do you ever get 3 months to be at home? If I had that time again, I would decorate the whole house,
Yeah.
Sort out that shed, just do the garden. And I did none of those things when I was ill. I watched a lot of television and I wrote. I wrote a lot, which was great. It was creative, but yeah, it wasn't productive. But I sort of let myself off the hook with that because obviously that's the way it was.
Yeah.
But this time around, because I do have the motivation and the energy, and I'm in a different position. Although I am actually working, I'm still working Monday to Thursday for my organisation from the home office. But when I don't mean the home office, yeah, no, the office at home. So, but being at home a lot, I felt like, yeah, I'm going to do all this stuff. And the first couple of weeks, that might be what you're referring to. I probably appeared really good on social media. I don't know what good means, but active and creative. And I got right into learning how to make bread. God, I went for all out. I learned how to make bread. I started digging a vegetable patch. I got seeds delivered, and friends were giving me seeds, and friends were giving me yeast and sourdough starters and tutorials. I even did an online hula hooping class. I did yoga with you,
yeah,
and I just went for it. And I've kind of stopped most of that stuff now.
Yeah.
And realizing that it's okay to have a slow rhythm. In fact, it's important to have a rhythm, not to be catatonic like before,
yeah,
but also not to be throwing myself into everything all the time. And actually, my son's fantastic at helping me prioritize, because I'm not great. That's not a strength of mine. I'm very bitty. I'll start one thing and jump here, jump there.
yeah.
And quite early on, he's got me to do an exercise where we write down all the things that need doing around the house or the garden, put them in order of priority,
Nice.
and only do the thing at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And don't do anything else till it's finished.
Yeah.
Found it really hard, actually. So I've just painted a wall in my bedroom, and because it was at the top of the list, I had so much resistance to it. But for anyone that is at home all the time, yeah, I don't feel like there is a judgment there. I know what you're saying, but every situation is so different with the mental health side of things.
Yes.
And it can be different from me within the same day.
Yeah.
I'm very good in the mornings. I ping out of bed, all my serotonin levels have replenished. and I can do pretty much anything. But after about 6 o'clock, I'm a little bit cranky, slightly emotional. Not every night, but I'm not as strong. I'm not as motivated. And I've just got into a rhythm recently that is work, going for a walk with my daughter, going for a run for myself, which I only started a week ago, so I'm, not professing, I'm not doing fantastic, but it's the thing that I'm feeling is the rhythm that I want. Going for a run for myself, maybe doing some exercise in the garden, at my son's insistence, doing a meditation for, it's become a bit of a joke now. He'll say, "Have you meditated today?" And I'll say, sort of thing, because he's right. If we all have to live together, we have to, not have to, but it's kind of important, and we owe it to each other to be our best selves. So those things, and cooking, feeding people, those things are more important than anything. And if I do those things in a day, great. If I don't do those things in a day, or some of them, it's okay too. And just not trying to put too much in. And I've been asked, I mean, this was a treat because I had something to think about doing and do, but I'm really pulling back from all that, because I found myself more busy in quarantine, that I can feel it, the energy coming up. I've got to call this person at this time, and then I've got this Zoom thing, and I've got this other, and all of a sudden, and then James is saying, "Well, are you going to paint that wall?" At the top of the list, and all of a sudden, I'm no, I need to pull back and find a balance. So yeah, just at the moment, I'm enjoying that there's time to do exercise. And yeah.
And for me, doing this conversation every hour, like the same as you, I ping out of bed in the morning and I'm like, there, have a shower, get my yoga stuff on, teach yoga for an hour, let the people in the class have a chat at the end, have my breakfast, then I do this, and then I feel like I've done something today, and and I feel like I've had some company. And what I find really interesting is how many different feelings I can go through in any one day, and how I can feel like I've had a really good day, but if I've done too much, then I'll end up having nightmares because I'm not giving myself time to process the sort of collective uncertainty, grief for all the things that aren't going on at the moment, which will all come back, and grief and loss. I think
Lots of grief.
I think there's a massive collective grief
Yeah.
and loss. Yeah,
I've been experiencing that too.
Yeah, and as somebody who's quite empathic, it's quite easy to pick up on that and then busy through the day, not actually sitting and feeling it, and then it comes out in all sorts of crazy dreams, I find.
I absolutely. And I think I haven't talked about the times when it's been difficult. I think I have experienced a lot of grief through this time, and it's tempting to want to be really chipper and get into coping and it's an opportunity. This is an opportunity, but it's off the back of the fact that there's so much suffering out there, and I think that's what I want to avoid a lot of the time, is the reality of that. This week we lost our neighbour, and I really it brought it really home. But still, it's not my close personal family. It's so difficult. It's so difficult walking that balance between doing okay and then just knowing that it's not okay. But you can't live in the not okay because you can't. It's too painful and destructive.
Yes.
And yet, as an empath, you just it's been quite hard to walk that line, and I felt also feeling like deserving of, like, I'm in a really privileged position. I've got my children here. I still have my job. My business that I set up last year is it's kind of on hold really, but that's fine. And we have our health, and I'm not living with anyone abusive, and I know, I know a lot of people are. And so I felt like I couldn't really didn't have a right to express some of the grief that I was feeling. But actually, I just met someone who I like, and it could be going somewhere, but I can't see them. And I think I spent a lot of time denying that I was grieving that, and that we planned to go to Italy, and no one's ever whisked me off to Tuscany or anywhere, quite honestly. And I was happy, I was looking forward to that, but I didn't allow myself to verbalize how disappointing those things were, because it just felt really wrong and really frivolous. So I just didn't go near it.
I've just got the charter.
Yeah, sure. But it was through talking to a friend, actually. Can you still hear me? Oh, good. Yeah, it's just through talking to a friend that I said, and also coming out, because we're trying to manage this relationship from a distance. And I came out sideways at them, and just wasn't okay, really wasn't okay. And they were saying, what's the matter? And I said, I'm really sad. I think the world is sad. Everything's sad. And I just wasn't able to pinpoint that I was sad because this isn't happening. I'm sad that I can't see you. I'm really sad I can't see you. I'm sad for myself about that. And as soon as I gave myself permission to say, well, yeah, it really is sad. I waited a long time for someone to take me to Tuscany. So it's just my little world, the things that impact me, that and they're no less important. And I think, you can give that to other people quite often. You can give that to your children. And, I've been really there for my daughter. She's not seeing her friends and some of the stuff that she's going through. And, saying, yeah, it's really sad. You can be upset about that, but not giving myself permission to be upset about my little thing that is my thing. And so what I ended up doing, which has really helped, had a really good conversation together, and it was the not knowing.
Yes.
It was the not knowing when this is over. That was making it uncertainty. And I kept saying, well, when people go and do a tour of duty, or if people go to prison, they have a release date. So you can work towards that, but we don't know what the release date is. Anyway, we've set a release date.
Amazing.
Yeah, in mid-July for and anything before that is early release for good behaviour. And anything after is, we deal with that then. But it's really, I don't know if it was in combination of having this conversation, of giving myself permission to grieve for the impact it's had on me, as well as the whole world, but just I guess just self-care, self-compassion, and
that's something people talk about a lot in general conversation, because obviously I deliver for the Made in Stride shop in the evenings, so I usually see like 4 or 5 people. I usually stand at their garden path, and quite often people do want to chat. And something that I hear quite a lot is, well, it's really difficult, but there are a lot of people worse off than me.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's such, in yoga, there's this saying that life is like walking on a razor blade. And I think that for us in society, we have, and for our generation, we have had everything that we've wanted when we wanted it. And all of a sudden we haven't. And for those of us who are quite socially aware, then we're like aware all the time that there are people less well off than us. So we find it actually really hard to give ourselves permission to feel that loss, grief and loss, which is actually real and equally is temporary.
Mm-hmm.
But I find that when I feel that loss, it's really hard to actually remember how temporary it is. Like, it's only been a month out of my life, but it's such a massive event, even so. Yeah.
And that sort of leads into the just quickly, do you remember was it Ally McBeal? Ally McBeal, the lawyer?
Yeah.
I remember there was an episode years ago with her, and she was having a meltdown or something, and she was saying, oh, and this isn't working, and that's not working, and it's not fair. And someone said to her in the show, well, everyone else has got their stuff, and everyone else has got problems as well. What makes yours so important? And she's really dead. She went, because they're mine.
Yes.
And I, it's a really nice to remember that. It's like, well, we're all equally entitled. I say entitled is not a very good word these days, but entitled to nurture ourselves for the things that are not going right. And I think it's just when it gets blown out of proportion, because obviously it's sort of not very, it's a bit frowned on to go overboard with that stuff, because you get you get the whole narcissistic, very self-absorbedness that comes from overdoing that.
Yeah.
But you can go too far the other way. I think that's what we're trying to say, really.
Of course, if you have narcissistic personality disorder, you have no empathy. So it's actually not narcissistic.
No.
Yeah. And it is there, and that's the thing now. We're so aware of all these labels and so aware of being judged and wanting to be a good person and do the right thing, and that's all quite hard to navigate in this situation.
Yeah, it is. And I think there's that overemphasis on I'm a good person, is there. I think living with each other, again, the labels and awareness. My son's quite woke. He is, so we're managing this quite well. I say that, we've had a couple of meltdowns. I mean, we had an absolute humdinger when he refused to get me some milk for my tea. And I was too paranoid to go in the shop. And he was too paranoid to go in the shop. And he said, why don't you go in the shop? And I said, I got effing OCD. And he said, well, I'm not great either. We had this ridiculous set too. And I've just realised then how much of a slave I am to my cup of tea. And found it quite funny. Anyway, we made up straight away, and it's it's been managed, and we've had a few other things, and it is getting quite. I had to. He wanted to come for a walk with me one day, and I said, no, I'm going to go for a walk. He said, oh, I'll come. No, I'm going to go for a walk. Just have your own walk. I need this walk by myself. So I don't know. I don't know what point I'm trying to get at. I think.
It's a lot to navigate.
It's a lot to navigate, and yet again, this is we're both invested in being the best we can be in our lives. That's who we are.
Yes.
And so we use techniques and tools and all the things that I've learned over the years, this whole massive being the best you can be self-improvement trip. And then I still want to, I just got so frustrated a couple of those times. And it just completely felt huge and overwhelming.
Yes.
And it was much bigger than it needed to be. And I was really aware of the microscope and the sort of the goldfish bowl that we're in. That usually, goldfish bowl is usually because people look in. It's not that. It was just the kind of the intensity,
isn't it?
It's magnified because we're
so
stuck in this.
And so intense.
It's so intense. And I was, I've been really intense.
Yeah.
And then my feeling is that, the real compassion for, I mean, it hurts me when I think about people living with uncompassionate people right now.
Yeah.
I just
with less tools.
Less tools. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't dwell on it too much. I feel completely powerless.
Yeah.
And freaked out by how bad it could be.
Yes.
I don't know what to say about that really. It's just, I guess part of this is my whole thing about not wanting to come across as really twee and not realizing, but it's a genuine pain that is part of the collective grief that I carry.
Yeah.
Is that
I think yesterday Jessica was talking about fierce compassion.
Talking about
fierce compassion.
Fierce compassion. I love that.
Isn't it lovely?
I love that.
Yeah.
Really love that. Yeah. It's something like that. I that fits actually. Fierce compassion.
Yeah. And it's interesting that feeling of like, oh, I've wasted the time, but like Jessica was saying yesterday, because of the situation, then we're not functioning properly. Our brains aren't functioning properly. We're not releasing the right chemicals to use the time optimally. And it's okay to not achieve what we might otherwise achieve in this time off work or at home, or people are in different situations, but for me I relate very much to being at home.
I think the things that have helped me is still having my job and working from home, because I've got that, but that initially brought its own stresses. I've got a really supportive team around me, so I'm really lucky in that sense. But it was my manager that said to me that you're at home trying to work, you're not working from home. And that just was a gift when she said that to me in the early days. My role changed. I work for a charity, and we had a response to the pandemic, and so I've been able to feel useful through my work without going out there. I think that has been really something that's really helped me to have a routine and to have something. I don't think I would motivate myself. I really don't. I think, and the weekends are a sign of that, especially in these last weeks. I'm doing a lot of resting. A lot of resting.
And what you said about feeling useful, for me, that's been one of the biggest lessons. Is that most of my self-worth comes through my business. So my perspective on that has always been, I've worked hard. Yes, I've been fortunate, but I've worked hard, and I get up every morning and I do it every day, and I've done that for years and years, and that's where I've got it. I didn't realize how much of my not only my self-worth, but my identity was wrapped up in that. And having been really unexpectedly told to shut that down, because we thought on the Friday when the school shut down, we thought, oh, Saturday's going to be our last day of trading. And then the pubs and clubs closed down on Saturday, so we went in on Monday, and we weren't trading as normal for sure. We had disinfected everything, we had distancing, we had all sorts of measures in place. And then I was told a few hours after we set all that up, oh, you are required by law to close. And it took me a couple of weeks to get over that society no longer requires your services. And I think that has given me so very much more understanding for other people's situation in life, which I didn't have before because I've been so fortunate.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really easy to say I've been really fortunate, but in the back of my mind there was like, yeah, but I show up. But then when you're not able to show up by a situation from outside of yourself, and that can be anything, how that has affected my identity. So who am I now? Without all that, without the distraction and the money coming in and the excitement and the starting new projects and the let's do this, let's do that. Yeah.
It's definitely it started raining really hard outside. Can you hear it?
Pouring, yeah. It's on
my
roof windows, yeah.
I think lost what I was going to say now. I was just going to respond to what you were saying about identity.
Yeah.
I do. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I think going sort of forced to look at that before.
Yes.
So I do feel like I've had a bit of a sneak preview of this, which is, again, I just feel lucky about, really.
I remember you saying that to me at the very beginning. When you
I've been in training
yourself in, which I found completely weird at the time.
Yeah, what did I say?
When you've got friends and they do weird stuff, you're just like, that's my friend, that's what they do. And now I totally can understand what it was about and where it came from. But I can remember you saying to me, I've been in training for this my whole life. Whereas I felt completely unprepared and still do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when the I don't know, we had a joke, and I do know other people that do this, they've also got anxiety, and I think it's quite normal. But like James, my son, found a meme online that said something like, does anybody else's mum treat the post like it's got a bomb in it and bleach all the shopping as it comes through the door? Or is it just mine? And yeah, that happens, you know. Yeah. But it's I can't tell you how strange it is to have had that level of awareness, of hypervigilance around germs your whole life.
Yes.
And then be told you have to be this hypervigilant around germs. It's a really interesting thing. Yeah. It's real. So it's almost, I don't.
Yeah. That must be strange.
Yeah.
Because it's been something that you've been trying to work on and eliminate, and now it's necessary.
It is necessary.
Yeah.
And just also the whole shutdown thing. I thought up until I shut down 2 years ago for 12 weeks that if I stop, everything else will stop. I can't possibly not help all these, be there for my mates. I can't possibly not go to work. I can't possibly not sort the kids out and keep the house clean and do the stuff that cannot happen.
Yes.
And when I was sort of bedridden and no one died, life went on. I just was out of the picture. It was such an amazing learning curve for me that I feel like if now everyone has got that gift.
Yes.
Everyone has been given that fresh perspective that I was given.
Yes.
I'm being given it again, so I can sort of really go in and look at what is it in my life that I want to keep, and what is it I want to take forward. And the last time around, I changed a hell of a lot. I mean, a hell of a lot. You know this. So what came out of me locking down for 12 weeks when I did before this was that I ended my marriage, and I made some really big decisions about who I am. I had some real moments of truth about who I am and how I want to live and how I've always wanted to live. And I gave myself permission to be me. I started my own business. I stopped a lot of the things I was doing socially that weren't really serving me, and I changed my role at work. I could go on and on. I mean, it was a profound experience. And I believe that this is, that this is possible, or available. Maybe there's an opportunity for that, and that can be exciting.
A lot of people might come out of lockdown deciding, I'm not going to do that job I hate anymore. I'm going to retrain. I'm going to start that business I've always wanted to start. Or I'm going to take more time off.
See, even as I'm having this conversation, even as I'm saying this to you, I'm aware that people are not being able to pay their mortgage. And
that's the thing.
And I'm back in that real guilt of like, you can't say that. This is, you can't discuss these things. This is, it's really shit of you to see any kind of opportunity in this when it is so hard. So I don't know what I'm just gonna keep wrestling with that the whole time. I'm not a key worker. I don't have to go out and take those risks. So it just feels like, that bloody woman sat there on the internet talking about how I can't bear being that.
I know. Well, I'm that every day.
I don't know, what do you do about that?
I know. I mean, I've invited people to do this, and they've said, I couldn't possibly. I'm having a great time. I feel guilty. People aren't having a great time.
I'm not having a great time. No. I'm not having a great time. I'm finding it difficult.
I have all sorts of times every day. All sorts of times.
Yeah. We've gone on and on, haven't we? Is that normal?
We do, because we could literally talk all day.
We do sometimes.
And
that's what gets us through. It gets
us through. And I'm not sure whether what we've said is of any benefit to anyone, but I've really enjoyed it. I was going to ask you one more question. I read an article which was talking about how, and I know that you can't, of course, generalize or speak for everyone, but it was about how a lot of people who live with anxiety are finding life easier under lockdown. And as somebody who's finding life a lot harder under lockdown, I wondered if you had any thoughts about that. I've just sprung that on you.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's good. I just wanted to answer it properly. I think, there's something really reassuring. And as a person with anxiety, I'm always seeking reassurance. So there's something really reassuring about knowing that my home is a sterile capsule, and me and my children are in it. And my anxiety levels are heightened every time we have a food delivery or we have to go out to get food. Or my children go to my younger children go to their dad's house and come back, even though it's safe to do that because they're not going anywhere there.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm aware that my little safety bubble is being burst. I don't think I'm on my own there, and I think people who are not diagnosed with anxiety probably experience that too.
Yeah.
But you know, again, without trying to put aside the guilt of coping with this quite well, I am
Yeah.
doing all right. You know, I am finding time to learn how to make bloody sourdough bread. You know, I am putting my seedlings in the boot of the car because I haven't got a greenhouse, and putting pictures of myself doing that online.
Oh yeah. Could we just have a moment for the car greenhouse?
Well, yeah. Do you know, I have to have a confession as well, because everyone said, what a great idea. I nicked it. It was not my idea. I
Okay.
saw it on some gardening on a shoestring thing on Facebook.
That's a great idea.
But it's great, isn't it? Because it's raining so much, they would drown, and I don't want them all over the kitchen floor. So,
and the car's just sat there.
Sat there. So
it's like a little solar heater.
Yeah. So they've got a little hothouse in the boot of my car.
Brilliant.
So yeah, I am managing this because even though I'm completely out of control, I'm in my castle and I can control my castle.
Yes.
So I think yeah, I'm also very lucky that it's just me and my children, and the dynamic is there. I think if someone else was in here trying to control my castle, you know, part of the reason my son came from London when he did was that he lived in a shared house, and some of his flatmates were wanting to bring friends in and out, and that worked for them, and it was early days.
Yeah.
It's quite similar to me around the anxiety. You know, he's aware of stuff. He's also it's a family illness. I don't think he's got it, but I'm just saying, quite vigilant, quite on it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't okay. So he came here because he couldn't control his environment.
Yeah.
Now we're here, and actually, even though we weren't in lockdown, I will admit this, as someone with anxiety, I quarantined him for over a week when he got here from London.
Yeah.
Before lockdown,
yeah.
He came to my house, and he was in the front room, and I bought him all his meals, and he wasn't allowed in the rest of the house.
Yeah.
He let us know when he was using the bathroom, and then after a week of him being symptom free, he joined the rest of the house. I mean, that's how serious I am about this.
Yeah.
You know? I'm just not that risk taker when it comes to health. I'm just not. I don't know if I ever will be, but finally I don't feel completely out of step with the rest of the world.
Yes.
Yeah, finally I feel like I'm normal. I can admit this on the internet and feel like an absolute freak.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess there is something strangely okay about this as a person with anxiety. Yeah, I think that question's right. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Char.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. I'll drink my coffee to that.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah, I can't wait to go out again.
I know, right? Oh, the things that, yeah.
Pizza in Bristol, feminist film night.
I know. And that's the other thing. The stuff you take for granted now, you know, is, and just newfound gratitude for everything.
Yes.
Everything. I hope that stays. I hope I don't lose that. I thought I had it before, but now it's like, being able to have a hug, you know, that's
how much I took for granted being able to go to music festivals all summer. Like that was just a normal part of life. Yeah. My Siri just went off. I never even used Siri. My Siri just went off. It's just it's all happening here.
Are we done? Literally, we could be here until tomorrow evening.
Yeah, we could. So
yeah.
Thank you so much, Char.
Oh, thanks for asking me.
Yeah, and I'll probably talk to you in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's what you see.
Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. Bye.